content on social media to generate leads. And the if you hear me talk about it with a friend, I'm very passionate. By the time I turn the camera on, like I have a script to read because I can rant. So the same passion doesn't come across. I feel more robotic, and there's
Yeah.
probably a way to bridge that gap.
Yeah. So scripts are dangerous, right? Scripts are super dangerous. Could you tell like who was reading from a script and who wasn't?
I wasn't paying that great of attention, but in general, yes.
Yeah. It's very, very hard to read a script, AD, because look at what I'm doing now. I'm looking away, I'm thinking, I'm formulating my thoughts. When I'm reading a script, everything is here or everything is
Mhm,
focused on the words. And then if I'd written words, once you are prepared to go on, my whole tone changes.
mhm,
So there's one thing you might want to do, which is think of your piece as a journey. Like if where do you live? Do you mind me asking? Like
yes, Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas. So supposing I said to you, let's go to Washington, right?
Hmm.
We know we're going to Washington. Now you know you might rant. You might like hang out in Louisiana for a while. You may suddenly decide to head north to New York for some crazy reason and then go.
Hmm.
But ultimately you are going to end up in Washington. And
Hmm.
so that ending, that gives direction to everything else. So
Hmm.
often people start with the beginning of a story. But I would say if you know your ending really, really well, everything can work towards that. So if I know that the ending of my presentation for today was you can be powerful and present on camera, everything I'm saying relates to that. And if I decide to throw in an anecdote, it's going to relate to that anecdote, that destination. So let's say everything's about being powerful on camera. I might talk about how I wasn't powerful on camera, how I became powerful on camera, how I've worked with clients who were or weren't powerful. Everything is kind of going to Washington.
Hmm.
It's perfectly all right in my world. It depends when you're doing social media, it does depend, but I'm just going to give you some ideas, right? So have you heard of Dean Graziosi?
Yes, yes, he works with Tony
So,
Robbins a lot.
right, major character. So here's Dean. Today was super important to me. In fact, it's so important. I've made some notes and I'm going to be referring to these notes because I want to make sure you get this. So, point number one, you are capable of great, right? And he'll just refer every now and then to his notes. Like, why
Hmm.
is it? Why is it that when we get on camera, we're supposed to have the memory of an elephant? Like,
Hmm.
you know, if you've got a subject and an area you want to talk about, well, you can have some notes. I'm just throwing ideas. Another way is to have the notes on the screen. So if you're
Hmm.
doing social media, you can have the note on the screen just right next to the camera. Like there is the camera, right? Right there.
Hmm.
But just to one side of it, right here, I could put three or four notes.
Hmm.
And as I refer to those, you can't tell that I'm looking to the side of the camera now, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
But I'm
yeah,
looking at it. Now, if I have my notes down here, now you can tell.
yeah, yeah.
And then here's another freaky, freaky one I'm just going to give you. When I'm thinking I'm doing this, right? And you can see
Hmm.
me thinking, but you can't see what's on the other side of my camera. Now, depending on what's on the other side of your camera, you could
Hmm.
put up some shit hot big notes.
Hmm.
And it just gives you, so if you find yourself ranting, you kind of take a breath, look at your notes and bring yourself back to Washington.
Hmm.
So you've got a journey, right? And you've got little prompts along the way. And then do you consider yourself, I consider you, I mean, from the confidence you gave around, being a guy who's very successful, you've obviously done a lot of work on your ideal client and the struggles they face with in terms of, look, you're successful in business, but your family life is going to hell in a handbasket. So you've got clients, you talk to clients, right? You have experience. When you speak from that, people know it.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone wants to know about doing card tricks for Michael Jackson. Like, what was that about, Howard? How did that even happen?
Mm-hmm.
And I can speak from that truth. And you'll find as you do it, you refine it, you shape it, and you can retell a story on social media. If you look at most of the greats, they're not telling different stories every minute. They're
Mm-hmm.
often telling the same story. Look at Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, you know, get out there, make variety, make videos, talk about your passions, get out there, get out, I mean, he is singing from the same song sheet. So I
Mm-hmm.
hope that's helpful. What do you make of those ideas? Do any of them feel like they could help you?
Yes, absolutely. I don't even like scripts. I love bullet points. So the idea that I've already done it, I'm going to go back to doing it now that you said it, which
Yeah,
is just
yeah,
having bullet points that I can kind of look at and then go off and then come back and look at again.
yeah, yeah,
That really helps when making longer form content.
yeah. And then I just think for me, as I said in the introduction, we have to be different. Like, I'm not
Hmm.
going to say anything personal, and neither should you. But think how many people you've heard today where you're feeling, yeah, I've kind of heard a variety of this kind of thing before. Is it different? We're flooded with so many people offering us this, offering us that, telling us they've cracked the code. No, I've cracked the code. Here's how you make a million in a minute, and on and on and on it goes.
Hmm. Hmm.
So for me, the most powerful thing you can do is tell stories. Tell stories. There's nothing more compelling. There's nothing that brings us together more. So let's say you've got a fictional character called DA, and
Hmm.
DA finally closed his laptop at 9:30. He stood up, all his, he was aching. He drove home through terrible traffic in LA. When he finally got back to his wife, she said, come to bed, darling. He was like, bed is like, I've got to do this last three. You're bringing us into the world
Hmm.
without telling us. And if that story is actually you, if that story is how you have experienced this, and I don't know if that's true for you, but if you've gone through that suffering, my friend, and your relationships have suffered as a result, of all this focus you put into building
Hmm.
the empire. Don't worry, darling, I'll get back to you in 5 years when I've got 10 million,
Hmm.
whatever it might be.
Hmm.
Nobody can be you. Only you can be you. Only I could have said I've done card tricks for Michael Jackson. Only
Hmm.
I could have said I've improvised with Bond, right? And how it went and what was
Hmm.
good, what wasn't, how I struggled, how I suffered, how I came through it, how I've put that into something that might be useful for you. So, this advice I'm just giving you spontaneously, how am I able to do that?
It's coming from your experience, your lived
Right,
experience.
right.
Hmm.
So, you know that. I don't have to tell you I'm an expert. I don't have to
Hmm.
tell you I'm different from other people. You just know it. I mean, this ain't a green screen,
Hmm.
right? This is my rural kitchen in Portugal. I have built a global business from a village of 26 people in Portugal. I'm British and I live in, there's little old ladies who are very nice, but the most transactions we do is they give me a few eggs and we struggle along in Spanglish and Portuguese. But they ain't my clients. So
Hmm.
if I'm building a global presence, if you're building a global presence, what makes you unforgettably you?
Hmm.
So for me, everything about seeing you from the get-go needs to be you. Like, this ain't a green screen corporate thing.
Mm-hmm.
where half my head's missing every time I
Mm-hmm.
move.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
ain't this ain't smooth and polished. Often I'm unshaven, but I'm going to be going to Cannes right soon. I'm going to be going to Lisbon, to Toronto, to New York. I'm going to be wearing distinctive different clothing. So all of these strategic moves are consciously made. The message of this brand, if you like, as we are now, is you can build a business from a village of 26 people, which has a global reach. So,
Mm-hmm.
what is the message of you now?
Ask the question one more time.
My message, my
Mm-hmm.
branding, if you like, the way I
Mm-hmm.
am now on camera is
Mm-hmm.
you can build a business from like the middle of nowhere, from wearing an old t-shirt, with just your laptop, and you can go
Mm-hmm.
global if you get the branding right. What is your branding now saying?
Mm. Wait, are you talking about like my background or are you talking about?
Everything. So the beautiful
Mm-hmm.
thing about the camera is you have complete control over everything that's this side of the lens,
Mm-hmm.
everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
if I shift like this, it gives a very different ambience, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm like this, very different. I'm exaggerating. So, I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at your stand, I'm looking at your ceiling, I'm looking at your mic, your t-shirt, your chair, your that little blue thing on the door, everything. I may not be conscious of it,
Yeah.
but subconsciously, you're telling a story. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
help but tell a story. So I would say, what could you place into your background that would tell the story of your brand without, it's not a logo, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is not a logo. This is a
Mm-hmm.
subconscious, like, some people are like, wow, Howard, I just saw your cat, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like homely, right? Or homey, you might say, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm translating, Britain and America are, common language, but not really. So
Yeah.
you just ask yourself, what gives that caring, masculine sort of, empathetic, wherever your brand is going, wherever you're
I have an
taking
idea.
those men.
So I'll find a way to put this in my background. I don't know
Yeah.
what do you guys call this
A
in the
cane, a cane.
okay, so a walking cane. I call
Yeah.
it a pimp cane, me personally,
Okay.
right?
Well, there you go. Now you're already cooking with gas, my friend.
Yes, 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 yes. And so
So,
I think I said it earlier in the last room. Oh no, you weren't there. So they asked who is someone who you are who's changing your life and impacting your life. There's a guy, his name is Andre Taylor. He used to be a pimp in his former life. He was called Gorgeous Dre. Very, very
right,
handsome guy, right?
right,
And he went to jail for that and then he's turned his life around. And so now he just teaches lessons on manhood.
right.
And I am in this part of my life now where I'm learning about manhood and it's
Yep,
all coming from pimps.
right.
And it's so very interesting. It's very off-putting, I know, when people hear stuff like that. But I sit and I think about power. Like power is just it's fascinating to me. Like how
Yeah,
one person can get 2,000 people to work for their company and further their mission, right? Maybe
right,
even neglect their family to further
right,
their mission.
right.
And when you look at a pimp is someone who sends someone else out to labor to
Yeah,
their benefit.
yeah,
And I think wives are the biggest pimps today. They send their husbands out the
yeah,
house to go labor
right.
for their benefit. And so I kind of just teach men how to, you know, flip
So
the
I
power.
think if that is your message, it's
Hmm.
going to be, um, it's going to divide people very clearly, right, around a line. So I
Hmm.
think everything about you needs to have that branding.
Everything about me needs to have that branding. It's kind of
Yeah.
scary to think though, because it is a very uh taboo message, but my goodness, it has changed my life. I would never
Well,
go back.
I, yeah, I mean, for me, in my world, I probably offended most of the speakers by saying you're wooden on script. I don't give a fuck. They are
Okay.
wooden on script and their business is dying as a result. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not. I'm not. I've built a six-figure business from here. Next year will be seven figures. I'm not dying.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you've met me, you're never going to forget me, right? Like me or
Mm-hmm.
loathe me, it's like, oh yeah, it's the British guy. He's in a place in Portugal. He did card tricks for Michael. You've remembered there's things that are seared into your memory. So,
Mm-hmm.
pimp your way to success, or I don't know, mate. I don't know what it is, but don't pimp my ride, pimp my
Yeah.
bride. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know what that messaging is.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm
Mm-hmm.
never, don't be afraid of controversy. Don't be afraid of being aggressive. Don't be
Mm-hmm.
afraid of being forthright. And don't be afraid of offending. Now, having said that, you're going to have to take the heat.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah. That's
generate
fine.
haters, but I
Yeah.
mean, you're going to get engagement. So I would lose the board because the board
Okay.
is, it says I'm a teacher. I don't want to, I want to be a pimp. I mean, if I'm in your world, do you know what I mean? I
Uh-huh.
want to,
Mm-hmm.
let's reverse this relationship here,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the essence. So ask yourself a question. How can I do that with my mic? Should I have this stand in the back? Should I have my doorway? Should I have for me, having this angled up here gives a very different message from this. This
Mm-hmm.
gives, I'm now on the level with you, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
one to one, we're mano a mano or mano a pimpo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the every aspect of it you can
Mm-hmm.
control, my friend. You can bring messaging without ever saying a word. You don't have to actually do that. If you look at someone now, people love him, people hate him, Andrew Tate, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
look at
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Tate, you cannot mistake him for anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
He's loud and brash and he shows off his wealth, and he shows the cars and the houses and the women and, and now the jail time, right? Or whatever it
Yeah.
might
Yep.
be.
Yep.
But,
Yep.
he is unmistakably himself.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a someone you've never heard of, an actor in the UK called Stephen Burkoff, like me, a classically trained actor who was kind and gentle and he never got any work. So one year he just thought, fuck it, I'm tired of not working. So he created now I'm not suggesting this is you, but he created a very aggressive character and
Mm-hmm.
he got endless roles then as a villain because he was distinctive. He was like a
Mm-hmm.
very well spoken villain, and he was
Mm-hmm.
a real strong person and he
Mm-hmm.
burst into life. So I would say, don't be afraid of that. If that is the way
Mm-hmm.
you've learned, why
Mm-hmm.
not say, look, some of you are not going to like this. Some of you are
Mm-hmm.
going to judge me. Quite frankly, I don't give a fuck because I have learned from people who are generally detested. PIMP,
Mm-hmm.
proud, influential, masculine, perfect.
I
And
like it. I like it.
everything about your brand says that.
Mm-hmm.
I hope this has been helpful. It's what you've had me for a one-on-one session, my friend. So that's great. And I just think be bold, right? Be bold
Mm-hmm.
with it. But be prepared to take the heat. You
Mm-hmm.
will take heat for that message. I've
Mm-hmm.
worked with men who do men's training, and
Mm-hmm.
they've had to take heat because you ain't going to be pleasing women,
Mm-hmm.
right? But your
Mm-hmm.
job is not to please women.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be taking hate for that. But in a weird way, hate drives engagement.
As long as I get paid, you can feel however the fuck you want to feel about me. It's
Well,
how
and
I.
it's not just about the money. It can't
Mm-hmm.
just be about the money. It
Yeah.
needs to be bigger than the money. For
Yeah.
me, I mean, this is something love to continue. We're going to have to go in a minute, but
Yeah.
ask yourself, what is the message beyond the money? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what is it about pimps that particularly gave you the keys to more successful balance in your relationship, because
Mm-hmm.
that is like, let's go beyond the judgment here, let's
Yeah.
go beyond the labels. I'm
It's
connecting with you guys because you need to man up, and there's nothing more of a man than a pimp, right? I mean, I don't know what that message is, but it has to come from your heart.
yeah.
It must
Yeah.
come from, if it comes from your wallet, people will smell it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You've given me
All
a
right,
lot
my
to think about.
friend.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
my pleasure. I enjoy seeing your pimping videos. All right. Wow. Stop recording.